So that's it for props for the moment. We're using props to pass data from the app.view file into our friend contact component. Now, what about communication from the component to the parent? A good example would be toggle favorite. At the moment, this is kind of a dummy thing. I'm setting it to true for every generated friend, and we're not really managing it on a friend-specific level. Yes, I can toggle it for an individual friend, but that only changes inside of the component. In reality, just like the name, the phone number, the email address, isFavorite should not be set to true like this. Instead, we should probably have a isFavorite property on our friend objects, so that this data is really stored on the input data where we have the rest of our friend data as well. So we could have isFavorite here and also here. That's what we typically would want to do, because the information whether a friend is a favorite of us or not is just as important and friend specific as its phone number and email address. And it's not just something which we want to change here inside of a component, it should be part of our core friend data, which could be coming from a database or anything like that. Now we got isFavorite managed here, and of course we can pass that down to our component, but there again it just acts as an initial prop value, which means if I click toggle favorite here, that changes it inside of the friend contact component, but not inside of our core friend data. Here, of course, that is just some dummy data, but if this would be coming from a database, we probably would want to send it back to that database as well. So just changing it inside of that component is not enough. We would also want to change it here in app.view file in our friends data, in our friends array. So therefore, we now need communication from the friend contact component back to app.view. So basically the opposite of props. Props allowed us to pass data from app.view to friend contact. Now we need a way of letting friend contact tell app.view that the favorite status changed. And how could that work? How could we implement that? Well, how does it work for regular HTML elements? If we click a button, the button in the end wants to let us know that it was clicked. So the button emits a click event to which we can listen. And it's the same for custom components in Vue. If a component should talk to its parent and let the parent know that something happened, that component should emit an event to which the parent can listen. And indeed, you can emit your own custom events inside of your Vue components. For example, here, when toggle favorite is triggered. In this method, instead of changing this internal friend is favorite data property, we can use this and now a built-in method which ships together with Vue, and therefore it starts with a $sign, just like refs did in the behind the scenes module. But now it's not refs, but emit, $emit. That's a built-in method which you can call from inside a Vue component on the this keyword. And this allows you to emit your own custom event to which you then can listen from inside the parent component. Now, emit wants at least one argument, and that is the name of the custom event. And here you can name this event however you want. It's your event, so you can use any name you want. And I'll use toggle-favorite. Here, the convention is to always use cap uppercase, no matter where you use it. So that's different to props, where in the component that receives it, you use camel case, and you only use cap uppercase for passing in the values. For events, it's always cap uppercase. So now we're emitting this toggle favorite event. Our own component is emitting this custom event. And what do you do with that? Well, you listen to it just as you can listen to clicks on buttons. In the app.view file, where we use our own component, you can listen to it with v on or the @ shorthand. And here we can listen to toggle-favorite and bind this to any JavaScript code that should execute when this event is emitted. So here we could now add methods to our view app config object and add a method named toggle favorite status, for example, and then bind this method here to our toggle favorite event. And if we save that, that should work. Of course, at the moment it does nothing, but we also don't get an error. And we can tell that it works if we add an alert here in that toggle favorite status method. This works, which of course is not the final code, but a good test. Now you see I get this alert if I click toggle favorite. And that is how we can communicate back from a component to its parent. But of course we're not done. We're now emitting a custom event, but this event should probably carry some data so that we also let the parent, the app.view file, know which of the two contacts changed its favorite status. Because we got two, and here we got no easy way of telling. Well, in friendContact.view, when we emit, we can also pass a second argument. Actually, you can pass as many arguments as you want, and every extra argument will simply be data that you pass together with your event. So for example here, we could expect that we get one extra prop, the ID of the friend, which is of type string and which should be required. So I'm adding this extra prop definition. In app.view, we do have IDs, so we can easily pass them in simply by binding the newly defined ID prop and passing in friend.id like this. And now with the ID provided to friend contact on the ID prop, we can emit it here with our custom event. This ID is now available because I just added a prop named ID to this component. And now the toggle favorite event, when it's emitted, will carry this as an extra data. And that will then be provided as a first argument to a method that listens to this event. So in app.view, we're pointing at the toggle favorite status method on our own event. And the toggle favorite status method, therefore, will now receive this friend ID. You can name this argument however you want here, but you will get this second argument we're providing here when we're emitting the custom event. This ID is accepted here as a first parameter in toggle favorite status. And this now helps us identify the friend where we want to change the favorite status. So now we can reach out to our friends array and use the built-in find method which exists in JavaScript to find a friend where friend ID is equal to the friend ID we're getting here. And that's default JavaScript code for finding that friend object in the friends array where the ID property holds the same value as the friend ID argument we're getting here. This is then the identified friend, we could name it. And on that identified friend, we can now set isFavorite to what is currently not. And this will change that data. And the cool thing is, when that data changes, Vue will detect this change and it will then automatically pass the updated favorite status back to the component and update the UI. So now we never change the favorite status inside of the friend contact component, but we always change it in the app.view file, and still you will see that everything works. The only change we'll need to make for that is back in friend contact. We now get rid of this friend is favorite data property we added there before. And instead we use our isFavorite prop, which we're getting and which we're now changing eventually in app.view, We're using this prop here in our template because that will now work. If we save that, you see I can toggle this, and View detects all the changes and updates everything correctly. And now we're using this unidirectional data flow in both directions. We're using it to pass prop data from app.view into our component, but we're also using it the other way around to emit a custom event inside of our own component with the $emit method and listen to this custom event in app.view to then make changes to the data in app.view, which we're storing in the data property of our main app here, to then feed that updated data back into our component, where View will then see that something changed and where View then updates the UI. And this is how you work with components. You can emit your own events and you can set your own data. It's actually quite similar to working with default HTML elements, just with the difference that you now control the code behind the HTML element, so to say.